Hi, everybody. Happy Spicy Friday to all of you. I'm Zev Halpern here in the Washington, D.C. steamy, humid area, summertime, even though I love the summertime. And I'm here with,
Sarah Polyakov, all the way over on the West Coast in Seattle, and we are coming to you nationwide, coast to coast, and worldwide. So please tune in. We love it when you show up and also drop us a comment. Zeb, do you want to tell them what we're talking about
we
today?
absolutely, yeah. And this series is called Mind Shift Happens. And we're adding this Sexpectations segment to our relationship discussion because on Fridays we talk relationships and on Tuesdays we talk personal development. So today we're going to take it a little spicy. Um, and nothing's off limits with us. Nothing's taboo, no holds barred.
Oh,
We really like to say it like it is.
yeah,
Um, and today's topic is the onboard human apps and switches and buttons that we all have. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't utilize the amazing, wondrous things that we have. And I couldn't help noticing when I was preparing this particular episode is that how amazing our bodies really are. Because as the world is turning on all their apps, and
right.
boy, there's more apps now than you know what to do with. You could fill your page. There's an app for this and an app for that. But before there was batteries and before there was electricity, there are human apps, and we've had them on board. Human built in apps powered by complex and wondrous human body circuitry for a long time. And these buttons and switches that we have on board, they serve us. They turn us on physically, they turn us on emotionally, and they also can turn us off. Um, we can operate these buttons by touching them emotionally through our actions and how we communicate to each other, or we can activate them by actually touching them or having somebody else touch them. And then fireworks can happen, all kinds of things can happen, or sometimes nothing at all. But these buttons can pull us, towards the light of good feelings,
Right.
intimacy, ecstasy, bliss, peak well-being experiences. But they can also take us to the darkest depths of depression, anger, and hostility. I mean, we've all experienced that before, Sarah. You know that people can upset you, right?
Sure. Everybody can get upset,
But
especially when
I
it comes to love, right?
mean,
I think
people.
it's the area where people can get the most upset because love requires a deep, well, you have to let somebody in. Therefore, you have to trust. You have to show them your inner self. You have to be vulnerable. And then when they break trust, it just really hurts. It hurts more than just like a surface level friendship.
And that, I mean, it relates to how complex we really are. I mean, we can be devastated, or we can fly in the heights of ecstasy, according to the experiences we have, the people we're having those experiences with, or the experiences we have with ourselves. And we're not prudish around here,
Yeah,
and
from it.
right, very, very far from it. But we can do so much good by pushing not only our own personal switches and buttons that we have on board, by improving our well-being, but we can improve other people's life because when we're energized, when our human apps are energized, there's a trickle down effect. The people around us also are big beneficiaries of of the consequences of how these things are energized. You could support other people who are struggling, with terrible things, and so it's a sexual thing, it's an emotional thing, it's a lot of things. Sarah, what kind of buttons, when I bring this up, what kind of buttons do you think about?
So are we talking about
Personal,
erogenous erogenous zones?
we're talking about everything.
Yeah. Well, I guess I will bring it to the erogenous zone area. I will go there first. And I will talk about the things that are often overlooked, right? Such as the back of the hand. This can be an incredible erogenous zone because the skin here is very sensitive. Um, then there's non-physical erogenous zones, such as looking your partner deeply in the eyes and holding the gaze and sharing that intimate gaze just between the two of you, that silent, intimate gaze.
Very powerful stuff.
Right. Synchronizing breathing with your partner is very erotic. They found that to be very erotic. If you're lying down with your partner and you literally just synchronize your breathing for 3 minutes, that's very arousing and brings couples very close together.
Sarah brings up these, fantastic ideas because it's not necessarily just the things we think about, our sexual areas, but that there's so many top to bottom people. There are people who love to have their ears stroked. There's people who love to have their feet stroked. And it's not just a matter of stress release. It can take them, to places where they just stop thinking, about all the oppressive things, that we have in our daily lives. Moments. Why is massage such a popular thing? And
Right,
massage of all varieties, because they touch upon the places and things and make us feel good. And
they do.
that's the positive side of this. There is, absolutely a negative side to this. There are people who are traumatized by people, who don't have permission, to physically, emotionally um, get inside people's lives. And I'm just not just talking about sexually. I'm talking about we didn't let them in. You know, it doesn't say anybody can enter. It doesn't say anybody can just come into our space.
No.
We have a serious thing, humans. When someone enters your space, and geographically, Europe, I've noticed, and in the Mid East, people's space is much more. You can get closer. United States, people they don't like when people step too close.
Length.
People get very uncomfortable with that.
Right.
And I mean that without doing anything, without raising your hand, without doing you walked in to a place that that's sacred to people, and they just can't handle it,
Mm,
and they react. You see some people go back, you see
yeah.
some people move away. Well, these are things we really need to consider. Um, but what are some other ways, from an emotional point of view, Sarah, not just the sexual point of view, where we can get people, um, where we can touch a human button and a human act, a human app, and get people to a emotional arousal, where it's like, hey, I like this person. This person is doing things, to me, and I recognize that this is somebody who's safe. This is somebody who I like to be around. I want to let them get a little closer. I want to let them be a little more, a part of my life. Or
There, right. The thing that comes to mind are there are so many books written on how to win friends and influence people, and touch is one of the major things mentioned in these books. They say that if you can just lightly touch somebody's arm, just on their shoulder, if you can just give a solid handshake, if you can mirror body language, for example, and keep open posture. So you don't close your arms, you keep open posture. So these are things that you can do to show that you're approachable and you're a safe space for somebody else.
I mean, what happens when somebody caresses you? What happens when somebody embraces you? What happens when somebody's present in somebody else's life, or they offer help, or they do something nice,
Well,
or they massage them? Um,
right. Well, it depends on the person and the context. For example, not everybody likes to be touched by strangers. And even with our own partners, there are sometimes partners. This is interesting. I've met people who, when they're upset, they don't necessarily want to have a hug. They want to go sit alone and work through the emotions rather than be touched. And I find this intriguing because when I'm upset, I'm somebody who wants a hug, but not everybody's like me, right? Have you encountered that phenomenon?
I mean, whether we know it or not, these things happen to us, and we go away from them going, "Why was that? Why was I just attracted to that person, or why the opposite?
Oh,
What?"
like attraction versus repulsion?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, different people do different things to awaken all these different places and things that we have. Remember, they're emotional, just the mind, or they're physical, and top to bottom, head to toe. There are places that people allow you to touch, and there's places that are forbidden until you get permission um,
Exactly.
um, to do that. But most important is that you explore this inside yourself, that you try to figure it out. Who am I? What do I like? Do I like to be touched here and there? When you're in a good, a serious relationship, how far do you want to take it? And what exactly, when does exploration go a little too far? Or is there just, the sky's the limit? It's important that we know ourselves. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't learn about ourselves until we're like in the smack, in
Yeah,
the middle of this, and then it goes, oh my goodness,
right.
something, and we feel weird, or we feel incredibly aroused, or we feel, this little tingling sensation, that I hope you've had in your life, and that other people caused that wonderful tingling sensations all over your body. And look, it could be your head, it could be your sexual zones, it could be all that. Look, the old expression, whisper something sensual in their ear. It doesn't work with everybody, but with some people, if you do that, your things are going to happen because maybe the timing is right. We have to think about timing, but more important than anything else, I think we have to know ourselves, and we don't learn ourselves unless we put ourselves out there. And sometimes, unfortunately, other people, when they reach in a little too heavy, we find out something very big about ourselves that no, we don't like that. And we have to be able to say no. We have to be able to set some boundaries because these are we're walking around the world with all these human apps on board. And, some of them we don't even know how strong they are. And
Right. And your no is powerful. Know when to say no. I'm thinking of that song right now. That song's going through my head. My name is no. My sign is no.
I,
That's
yeah, I think that's, put it on your t-shirt. If you're not going to sing it, put it on your t-shirt. Don't come any closer.
No, you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. That's Megan Trainor. Yeah. So
But
yeah,
there's a lot of people who give off of vibrations that tell you, don't go any closer. Don't come closer. The vibe is strong. Don't encroach on me. And we send those out. Maybe sometimes, unfortunately, we send that out to people who we would wish would be a little closer because we're so used to pushing people away. We forget, that some people we might want to have move a little closer to us.
exactly. We're a lot closer.
That's right. I mean, these are consensual human apps. They pull us, they push us, in different directions. And, if your spouse, emotional and physical switches and buttons, you might find people just non receptive or pushing you away. And, when that happens, it can feel so defeating, like such a buzz killer. You don't even know, what did I do? Well, what you did was you encroached on somebody's space. You encroached, and the vibe happened, and you got the results.
Right.
And I think it's important to know that. Um, and if you love and care about somebody, you'll try to creatively find a window,
Yeah.
where you can work the right switch. And you're like, hey, guess what? I better go back to the drawing board. I really like her, but I don't seem to be able to be getting through. There must be something, that I can figure out. I mean, why do people give people flowers? Why do people bring people presents? Because when we do that, it opens up a certain mood and a certain space where we can explore
Yeah.
that before that it wasn't open at all. Um, but you can definitely be a buzz killer. And you also have to tell yourself it's worth the effort to find these things out about ourselves. Um,
And speaking
because, go ahead.
of buzzkills, so I know that when I want to talk about from my perspective as a woman, but I also want to say I've met other women who feel this way. Like if you're at the bar, for example, um, men out there, and you want to approach a woman, she's she's heard the lines a million times. She knows what buy her a drink means. She thinks you owe, or she will owe you something if you buy a drink. So try to find an original line, try to find an original compliment. And if she starts to recoil, just let it go and find somebody who is into it, right?
There also is something about the buzz of a confident person. There is that whole issue that people can clearly see, a confident person approaching them or an apprehensive person approaching them. And that all of us, what that does is it wakes up, the response. And the response is, I'm really attracted to this person. This person's got swagger and they look good. Look, they could be a big, ass, to tell you the truth. But
You
they
too.
look good, they work, they walk, with a swagger, and there's something attractive about that. And
They walk into the room and they actually own the room. They know how to own the room. And some women will fall for that. Some will. Others will recognize that this could be highly narcissistic behavior. And so they will run for the hills, while other women are drawn to that.
but for those of you, who are in relationships and it's not going well, um, this is a good time, to try to examine and explore what it is about your approach, what it is about your behavior, what it is about the moods the ambiance of your relationship that's just not making it happen. And I guess one of the greatest ways to find that out is to ask, what do you like? What
Exactly.
do you like? Not do what you think people like, but
And
find out what they really like. Because I know the world spends I mean, look, I don't have a statistic. So much energy, time, money in doing things that people don't want, as opposed to communication. It comes down, um, ask. I know that there's a lot of relationships where it's not so easy to ask.
Right.
People are just pushing you away and whatever, but you won't be satisfied until you know. And if you come to find out that maybe this isn't the right thing for you, or maybe the thing that you really need is something else. People do come to those conclusions, but it's important to come to those conclusions after giving it a reasonable try. And and a lot of people just don't. A lot of people just get tired of being pushed away. And how do I make the impression that I'm trying to do? It's worth figuring out. I mean, look, it lends itself to this to crossing over into this area called romantic. You know, there's this border that you can definitely cross over into the romantic. I know a lot of people go, my husband, he's not very romantic, or she doesn't have a romantic, bone in her body. Um,
They
as people who work with relationships, Sarah and I have heard this more times than we might be willing to say. But it's a common kind of thing, stereotypical. We have to get beyond the stereotypes and try
exactly.
to, I believe, and I get up at retreats and webinars and tell people everybody can be a little romantic. Something as small as a nice little post-it left in a lunchbox. All of a sudden, the person opens their lunch and they see someone's thinking about me. All of a sudden, that opens up, their human apps.
It
All of a
does.
sudden, things go off like, wow, I really appreciated that. I
Yeah.
appreciated that. I want to go home, and show, this person that how much I appreciated that, or helping out, I mean, these are mundane, helping out in the house, doing these kinds of things. These things awaken the apps that we're talking about today, in a way that you're not going to know until you do it. And you might be surprised that
Right.
overtures, very positive overtures, and it speaks to the love languages. It's important. The love languages are like a primer. They're unique to different people. They're generalized, and we have to go a little further, than just the love languages. But it's important to know that we're on the right track. And
Exactly.
the only way you get to know if you're on the right track is if you're trying. Um, there are some people who prepare a way to show their romantic inclinations. They put some effort into it. People appreciate when you do that. When you go out and do something, make something, create a mood. We've all seen it in the movies. How the person invites the person to dinner, and the person follows the flowers and the candles all the way up the stairs, till they get to this rooftop, whatever. And then there's like, in the best of situations, and I'm not telling you to do this, hire a violinist, but
Yeah.
music playing, create ambiance, and ambiance is your friend. Ambiance can
Yeah.
be your big friend because believe me, everybody got to go out there into that big wild world every day and deal with the routine stuff, that's not romantic. It's tiring. We're stressed. And when this kind of thing happens, um, these are the things that we want to have happen. These are
Right.
the things we live for. So, I mean, but the truth is, some people are tired. And so I save
Or
a little strength to
yeah.
be creative, to be romantic. to
right.
do some things, that your spouse or in your relation, or if you're having a relationship, and if the relationship just started, be a person who does the extra thing. You you know not
Yeah,
not that you get taken advantage of.
yeah,
Please never do that. But
yeah.
when you show the other person, that your intentions are way more, and that you're willing, to make them feel good, to make them feel energized, to arouse them in the emotional sense, in the sexual sense, and whatever, and do a little study, of the sexual parts, of males and females, because I guarantee you, and I know it for a fact because I've sat with hundreds of couples, they don't know. They don't know where, how, what. There's places they have not explored.
It's
You
true. It is amazing that some people can get to middle age and they still don't know like how to tell the difference between certain anatomical parts and others. That's
Yes,
real.
space isn't the final frontier. Space is not the final frontier. The final frontier, on your way to the final frontier, you might want to explore, your body, and let your partner know what works for you and what doesn't. And, we all get to choose what we want to do and what we don't want to do. Nobody should be forced.
Exactly.
You have no obligation to do things that you
Yeah.
don't want to do. And nobody should ever make you feel that way. And if they do, that's a big sign. Like
Red,
ding, 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 time to get out.
red flag.
Time to put the stop sign up. You're not obligated to do anything that you don't want to do. You hear guys talking amongst themselves, shall never, if I, oral sex, let me see, I'd be Rip Van Winkle till that happens to me, and then everybody laughs and talks, about it. I say, I'll be a corpse before,
But
before I get, some reasonable. That well,
but they feel, even if they're making light of it, they feel very rejected underneath. They feel, I think people internalize that and think maybe there's something wrong and undesirable about them.
yeah, maybe their hygiene sucks. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not at all that the other person doesn't want to do it. It's that they did it once and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't do that again. It makes me sick." And
Or, yeah,
a little freshening up,
right.
a little perfume, a little whatever.
Hygiene is a number one, but I know that if we enter a darker topic here, like if somebody has had a past where they were abused,
Oh,
made to do that by force, then they may not even realize that they're associating, even if they love their partner, that they're associating that act, with the abuse. So
yeah, they don't associate it as love. They associate it as trauma.
they do. And I know many people will not talk to their spouse if they've been abused in that way. Statistically, that's true. People feel so much shame. I know of, there was a case study I was reading where a woman was actually abused by her father and she still had him walk her down the aisle.
You
Yeah,
we humans do the damnedest things. Our borders and boundaries, can be really discombobulated, and trauma does that. And our obligate. Don't feel you're not obligated to do anything. I mean, it's a rule that you don't have to do anything. But if you are somebody who each time rejects and dejects your partner's advances or requests or whatever, then don't be surprised if your partner finds what they're looking for somewhere else, either on porno online or actually, in the affair. Um, we really have to. I mean, we're adults, and this is the thing of life, and humans think, and sometimes thinking turns to stinking thinking, and we go places that we're pushed to go to. It doesn't mean you have to do something or that whatever, but at least talk about it. At least
Well,
present. At
right.
least say, look, I don't do this because this is traumatic for me. I could. It's not something
Tell
that I
them,
would do. And then the other person could at least say, well, how can I make it, so that you feel love. How can I approach this, and both of us approach this, from a take it slow, and that it's about love. It's not about me getting off. It's not about me getting what I'm looking for. It's not about me taking advantage of you. It's about that I have needs and you have needs and I have places that, in my body, that are going off. Hey, you turn me on,
right.
and what do I got to do? And we'll talk about those things another time.
And then there are
Um,
these called Laurels. Have you heard of those? It's a type of latex underwear that people buy specifically for oral sex.
mm,
So if there's any hygiene issues or anything like that, they put on a pair of Laurels and then it becomes a pleasant experience for everybody.
Right. Look, there's a lot to this. We've
Yeah.
covered a lot of ground today. We expect to cover a lot more. Sarah and I are not afraid to go into this area. Relationships are something we do. Personal development is something that we do. And we spent a lot of time working with different couples in trying to help people, trying to fix couples, working with betrayal, affairs and all that. And we also decided together that so much of the stuff that we deal with in relationships relates to personal development, people's
Yes.
attempts to succeed at life and to and try to get their show on the road and all that. And for those of you that don't know, we wrote a book, and the book is called Discover Your Amazing Edge. And we've built a website that is going to be coming out very soon. We put a lot of work into it, and it's an engaging kind of work website. And we hope that you will let you know because it's coming out very soon. We've been busting, this summer trying to get it together,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of opportunities from a personal development point of view and from a relationship point of view. But if you're struggling in your relationship, if you're struggling, you've been betrayed in your relationship, if you're somebody who's having trouble because of you have limiting beliefs where you just can't get you just don't seem to be able to get it right and you're stuck and you're procrastinating, you're tired, reach out to us because what you'll find are two people who are extremely supportive, extremely knowledgeable of humans and all the stuff that we get ourselves into and out of, and
Yes.
uh, and
Really.
we've had plenty of experience with that ourselves. So we encourage you, reach out to us, DM us here on LinkedIn, email, whatever it may be, and we look forward. We do these podcasts because they're well received. We get great response from them, and we continue. And again, we're going to go where other people don't go, and
Right.
so look forward to that.
Yes.
There'll be more. You'll notice that there'll be more sexpectation segments where we'll go even deeper into some things, and guaranteed you might learn something, you
I
know,
will.
and you might learn something, and we hope that you do. So look, it's Friday. We like to call it Spicy Fridays. September, we're going to start our Spicy Friday episodes up again. And we wish you a great weekend and a good summer or winter wherever you are in the world because, we talk to people all over the world. And we look forward to talking to you. So tune in. Thanks for tuning in today and let us know. And have a great weekend. We will see you soon
We'll
on
see.
Tuesday for the personal development part of Mindset shift happens,
Yes.
as we all know that it does. So anyway, take care. Thanks for tuning in, and we loved spending time with you. See ya.
See ya.